China-Pakistani friendship is ironclad, and China will not allow any violation of Pakistan's legitimate interest in defending its sovereignty and territorial integrity, including peaceful use of the water in the Indus River.
Imagine waking up one morning and discovering that the rivers feeding millions of Indians had suddenly stopped flowing. Sounds terrifying. Recently, China practically hinted that it could do exactly that. A Chinese scholar even warned, if India blocks Pakistan's water, China can block India's. That's a scary statement. But is China actually capable of doing it? Or is this one of the biggest geopolitical bluffs in Asia? Because when you look at the geography, everything changes. Open any map and you'll notice something interesting. India's biggest rivers, the Brahmaputra, the Indus and the Sutlej, all begin in Tibet. And Tibet is controlled by China. So naturally, many people assume that China controls India's water. It sounds logical. The river starts in China, flows into India, and therefore China can simply block it. Simple, right? Wrong. Because rivers don't work like taps. Here's the part almost nobody talks about. A river's birthplace is not necessarily where most of its water comes from. Think of it in this way. Imagine a tiny stream starts inside your house. Then outside, thousands of pipes, rainwater channels, lake, waterfalls and drains all join that stream. By the time it reaches the city, your house contributes almost nothing to the total flow. That's exactly what happens here. Tibet, despite being the origin of these rivers, is actually a cold desert. It receives little to no rainfall. The real transformation happens after these rivers enters India. Every monsoon, India receives enormous amounts of rainfall. Hundreds of mountain streams, glaciers, tributaries, forests and valleys pour fresh water into these rivers. The Brahmaputra alone receives major tributaries like the Lohit, Dibang, Subhasini and Manas and many others. And these tributaries merge. The river becomes dramatically larger and more powerful. What enters India as a river is not the same river that eventually reaches Bangladesh. It grows enormously along the way, which means China may control the source, but much of the river's actual flow is generated downstream. Then why is everyone afraid? If China can't simply stop India's rivers, why do experts still worry? Because China does not need to dry the rivers to weaponize them. And this is where things become dangerous. China has built a series of dams on the upper Brahmaputra and is planning even larger hydropower projects. These dams give China the ability to temporarily hold water, suddenly release large volumes, trap nutrient-rich sediments and potentially withhold critical flood data. Imagine huge volumes of water being released during periods of heavy rainfall. The result could be flash floods, landslides and major infrastructural damage, all without firing a single bullet. But India is not sitting quietly. Downstream dams, flood control projects, hydrological monitoring systems, satellite surveillance and infra development in Arunachal Pradesh are all part of India's response. Projects like the Great Nicobar development are also connected to a broader strategic picture. Modern geopolitics is no longer only about tanks, fighter jets or missiles. Today, rivers, ports, satellites, energy routes and supply chains are becoming strategic tools of power. So, can China simply turn off India's water? No. Geography itself makes that extremely difficult. But can China create serious strategic challenges using dams, control releases and water infra? Absolutely. That is why this is not really a story about rivers. It's a story about geography, engineering, strategy and power. And in the Himalayas, the next great geopolitical contest may not be fought with the bullets. It could be fought with the water.